Every great journey begins with small steps. In a remote Japanese village, nestled in the quiet of an ancient valley in the mountains, lived a young man named Daiki. Since he was a child, Daiki was known for his dedication and tireless spirit. Every day, before the sun rose, he would wake up with a heart full of gratitude, ready to serve his community. The mountains around the village offered a world of precious resources, but only those with keen eyes and patience could grasp their abundance. Want more stories of wisdom and altruism? Subscribe to our channel so you never miss a single one. Daiki, with his humility, never sought recognition. He would get up in silence, put on his simple kimono and set off before everyone else, climbing hills and crossing streams in search of fruits, roots, and herbs that could be useful for the village. Every step was a prayer, every breath an act of gratitude to the earth. His hands were light but solid, like those of a craftsman who knows his art well. Nothing escaped his attentive eye, and every day he returned with a basket full of what nature had to offer. Not everyone, however, shared his vision. In the village also lived Haruto, a young man the same age as Daiki, but with a very different mentality. Haruto preferred a life of ease and rest. He couldn't understand the energy Daiki put into his work. Every afternoon, as Daiki returned home tired but satisfied, Haruto would watch him with a sarcastic smile. "I don't understand how you never get tired of working so hard," he would say with a laugh. "We already have enough, thanks to the efforts of all of us. You should relax a little, enjoy life." Daiki, always kind, would respond with a smile. "The work I do is not just for today, but for the future. Every seed we plant now will sustain us in the days of scarcity." What do you think of Daiki's words? Leave a comment and tell us how you plan for your future. Daiki's words resonated in the village, but not everyone understood them. Some, like Haruto, thought only of the present, confident that resources would never run out. Others, older, watched in silence, knowing that Daiki's wisdom came from a deep understanding of life and nature. One day, the village elder, the wise Chieko, summoned Daiki. "Come, Daiki," she said in a calm, reassuring voice. "I have observed your commitment and I see the light of awareness in you. Our community needs pure hearts like yours to face the trials that lie ahead. Nature is benevolent, but it can also be merciless. We must be ready." Daiki bowed deeply. "I will do everything in my power, Master Chieko," he replied humbly. Chieko nodded slowly. "Remember, true strength lies not in the hands that gather, but in the heart that gives without expecting anything in return." Winter was approaching. The first cold breezes came down from the mountains, and with them the village began to prepare for the more difficult months. As Daiki continued to work tirelessly, many in the village began to worry about the food supplies. The usually generous fields had produced less than expected, and concern spread among the villagers. Haruto, however, seemed unconcerned. "Why worry?" he said, shrugging. "Nature has always provided for us, and will continue to do so. There is no need to worry." But Daiki knew that the situation was more serious than it appeared. Every day, as he gathered the last herbs and roots before the frost, he felt a sense of urgency in his heart. He knew that the winter would be long, and that only with a collective effort would the village survive. What would you do in a situation of scarcity? Share your survival strategies in the comments. One morning, after a particularly cold night, Chieko called an emergency council. The reserves were almost exhausted, and snow had already covered the fields and hills. "We must act immediately," said the wise woman with a worried but firm look. "We cannot rely only on what we have. Each person must give their best for the good of the community." Daiki stood up, calm and determined. "Master Chieko, I have personal reserves that I have accumulated over the months. I am ready to share them with the village." The council was silent. Personal reservations were rare, and no one expected Daiki to have put so much aside. But he, with his usual humility, did not seek recognition for it. "If we don't share, we won't survive," he said softly. "We can't think only of ourselves at a time like this." Haruto, hearing these words, suddenly felt struck. For the first time, he began to seriously reflect on his choices. Maybe he had judged Daiki too quickly. Maybe his sarcasm was just a mask to hide his fear of not being good enough. He felt a pang in his heart, a pang of remorse that he could no longer ignore. "I want to help too," Haruto said suddenly, breaking the silence. "I'll do my part. I can go out and look for other resources, even in this cold." Everyone's eyes turned to him in surprise. Haruto had never shown any interest in hard work, and this offer seemed as unlikely as it was brave. Daiki gave him a gentle smile. "Every contribution is valuable, Haruto, and every step we take together strengthens our collective spirit." So Haruto joined Daiki and the other villagers in the difficult task of gathering resources under the snow. For days, they wandered through the hills, braving freezing winds and inhospitable lands. Every grain of food they could find was brought back to the village, where it was shared with everyone. Time passed, and the winter grew harsher. Despite their efforts, food supplies began to run low, and the village was once again on the brink of despair. Chieko, seeing the worried faces of her fellow villagers, stood up during an assembly and spoke with a voice full of hope. "Never forget that strength lies not in the resources we accumulate, but in the compassion we share. If we stand together, even the harshest frost will not break us." This is the heart of the story. True strength lies not in possessions, but in sharing. Daiki, inspired by the wise woman's words, made one last gesture of generosity. "I will offer everything I have collected in the past few weeks. I cannot keep it all to myself while others suffer." Haruto, now transformed by his inner journey, decided to do the same. "I will follow Daiki's example," he said, his tone serious and thoughtful. "I have learned that one cannot live only for oneself. Life only finds meaning when we share it with others." The village, moved by the sacrifice of these young people, found new strength to face the last days of winter. Every little resource was shared equally, and people began to take care of each other like never before. The community found itself more united and resilient, despite the difficulties. You too can make a difference in your community, act with compassion, and join us for more inspiring stories. When spring finally arrived, with its warmth and abundance, the village celebrated not only survival, but also a new awareness. Chieko's words, Daiki's wisdom, and Haruto's change remained imprinted in everyone's hearts. The true lesson that winter had brought was clear. Life is not just about surviving, but about living with compassion and sharing, knowing that the common good is the true wealth. From that day on, the village prospered, not only because of its natural resources, but because of the bonds of solidarity that had been created. And Daiki, never seeking glory, continued on his path, knowing that every act of kindness, no matter how small, would make not only the village flourish, but the very soul of each person who lived there. Don't miss out on more stories like this. Sign up and start your personal growth journey today.